do that. I mean, I could. Again, I'll if I like slaughtering chickens, maybe that's my kind of thing. Berating you for not losing weight, but it's not my style. I don't know, but it's like I don't think it matters so much. You don't have to understand these things. That's the thing I learned in psychology. There's so much stuff. You're reading the psychology textbook and you're like, oh yeah, I know that. You didn't know it in that frame of reference, but you knew it because we do these things. Like all these biases and cognitive dissonance and all this stuff. When you are intrinsic and extrinsic motivation, when you read that, you go, yeah, I understand that, because we're all doing it all the time. It makes sense to us. We just don't have this terminology for it. So psychology is about putting terminology, common terms to the things that we're already doing. We already know it. Whatever. All right. So let's.
Yeah. Wow.
To return the shopping cart is an easy, convenient task, and one which we all recognize as the correct, appropriate thing to do. I don't know if I wouldn't. Okay, I'll stop. I won't editorialize till after. To return. None of that was on. Lost signal. Did you shut me off because I started ranting?
No.
None of that was on. As soon as you started reading, you lost signal and you came back after it was done.
Yeah, no. We had.
You shut me down because I was ranting. Oh, I said anarchy, and then the Facebook shut it off. Are we on?
Yeah, we had some internet issues yesterday, and I'm kind of learning real fast, and I don't know what the internet is like over at your place.
Mostly fine.
Here, if a chickadee farts on the backside of the building, we're gone. So, looks like a chickadee may have just ripped one.
I guess so.
Raylene says we're back.
All right. Well, I maybe I'll stay away from the inciting revolution talk or what.
Of course, you can go anywhere you want, buddy. Anywhere.
Well, if it's cutting out the microphones.
It's because Facebook was watching and listening to you.
Yeah, they don't like us.
I'm not censoring you, but
so what do you want? All right, what do you want to talk about?
Maybe Mark is. I don't know. I want to. We were just talking about self-improvement and whether or not you can find the motivation intrinsically to do what you feel is best for you, and truly find it in the bottom of your gut to say, fuck what everybody else thinks I should do. I want to work out. I want to lose weight. I want to eat better for myself, not because I want others to perceive me as being thinner, healthier, having more energy, looking better, feeling better, but I want to. It's not about, I don't care what I see on TV. I'm not affected by that, or what I see in a magazine, or I don't compare myself to others, how they look, how they act, but I want to feel that way. How many of us, and listen, we've all walked past a gym. I see the yellow-purple one up in the mall all the time. There's always a billion people in there. Of all of those people, and I've wondered, which ones are doing this, what they're doing right now, running on the treadmill, or would have it be truly 100%, not 80%, but 100% for just themselves. If everybody else on the planet were to vanish, they would still be up there working out and eating well and holding themselves accountable. How many?
That's a good little, what? I don't know. visualization, I guess.
Nowhere
to say,
near as good as the chicken slaughtering that you did earlier.
Sure.
No, I'm still trying to have as powerful
grasp
as an
the depth of
illustration.
that. Yeah. No, it's a good illustration to say with it, to determine why you're doing something you're doing. If everybody disappeared right now, would I still do this?
Yeah.
And obviously there's some differences. There's some things that we might do differently if there was nobody else around. But are we doing things because we want attention for them? Are we doing them because we want approval of somebody? Do we want to fit in? And those kind of things. So that one works really well for me. Would I be running on a treadmill at the gym if nobody else existed?
Becky says, I go to the gym for myself. I think a large percentage are there for themselves.
No, I would agree. Right, so you're there for yourself, but there is that, how much of it is because of social expectations or social pressures and the pressures we put on ourselves. Not to take away from anybody's reasoning. I don't care why anybody does what they do. I'm not trying to say you should or shouldn't do it any specific way, but they could, someone could be doing it for themselves, but they're still influenced by all these factors, the social, cultural factors.
What was the shopping cart thing that Ray?
I don't know. I'm afraid to talk about it because I think that they're going to shut us down.
No.
I'm into conspiracy stuff, so I don't trust anybody.
A lot of people
I grew up
listening
on Fox
right now.
Mulder.
There's a lot of people listening right now.
Yeah.
What is that shopping cart thing? What was she basically saying?
So this is some meme-looking thing. The shopping cart theory. It says the shopping cart is the ultimate litmus test for whether a person is capable of self-governing.
Oh.
To return the shopping cart is an easy, convenient task and one which we all recognize as the correct, appropriate thing to do. To return the shopping cart is objectively right. See, I don't... Okay. There are no situations other than dire emergencies in which a person is not able to return their cart. Simultaneously, it is not illegal to abandon your shopping cart. Therefore, the shopping cart presents itself as the apex example of whether a person will do what is right without being forced to do it. No one will punish you for not returning the shopping cart. No one will fine you or kill you for not returning the shopping cart. You gain nothing by returning the shopping cart. You must return the shopping cart out of the goodness of your own heart. You must return the shopping cart because it is the right thing to do, because it is correct. A person who is unable to do this is no better than an animal. This is not my opinion that I'm reading here. An absolute savage who can only be made to do what is right by threatening them with the law and the force that stands behind it. The shopping cart is what determines whether a person is good or bad member of society. I have absolutely no affinity for that statement. I don't agree with it, and I understand it, and I think there's some value in there, but no more than just... No, I don't think there's any value in that statement.
So yes,
it's not objectively right to return a shopping cart. There's no objective right. That's going to an extreme.
Are you, Paul Brodie, suggesting that at some point in your life you have not returned properly the shopping cart?
I'm sure I have. But the majority of the times, I put them in the thing and I line up all the carts, and I'm in there I work at the place, putting the short carts together and the long carts, and moving this one and putting it over here. Because order to me that I like that. I find intrinsic motivation there to line up those carts, to put them back in place. That brings me joy. So I do that. But and also the guys and people working there got to come out in the freezing cold and track down all these carts and stuff. And so, yes, I don't know. I don't think it makes you a savage if you don't put the shopping cart back. I think it's an extreme. It's an exaggeration. But
Raylene says, I agree, Paul, but you have to admit it's the mindset of many.
Right. Well, and so then, but I would want to know why is the individual. We got to find some of these scofflaws who are not putting the shopping carts back, and let's bring them in here and let's ask them why they're not doing it. That's what I want to know. I demand to know. Why? No, but I have seen a couple articles recently that said shopping carts are disappearing. They're going somewhere, enough to write a story about it. So are people taking them home? And then so I started to think of what could I possibly use a shopping cart for?
Wind chimes.
It's a lot of wind chimes. Or really, really, really big wind chimes.
Yeah.
They do clang.
You could put all your dirty laundry in it at home and wheel it around the house.
Yeah. Right. It barely fits in the house.
So you didn't answer my question. Have you not returned a shopping cart?
Probably. I have no recollection of not returning a shopping cart. None of it stands out because it's such an inconsequential activity, as the thing says. I probably have left one somewhere, but I think very rarely have I done that. Maybe when I was a young punk. Now I'm an old punk, and old punks are responsible.
Well, we got an interesting comment here from Raylene saying, I think it's bullshit that the cart return is 1,000 miles away from the handicap parking spots. I never understood that.
It's probably closer to bring it back in the store than it is to bring it to the... There should be a cart return right next to that spot, then. You would think that would make more sense.
Yes. And Becky says they are too lazy to walk it back.
Yeah, too lazy or... You're right. Well, it's entitlement, maybe. I don't know. I don't know what it is. But I think, just put it away. So, all right, I'll tell you how I do it. Because I think through these things. Not implying that other people don't. I shouldn't have said it that way, but I did. Too bad. When I go to the grocery store, I don't want to be in there with a bunch of people and wait in line forever. So I go at 6 o'clock in the morning or 9 o'clock at night. So there's less people around. So
Seriously?
At that point, that's what I do. If I have been in the grocery store other times of the day, and I don't like it. I don't like going to Price Chopper at 2 p.m.
You don't go to the grocery store when Kathy says, we need some fucking milk and some eggs and some bread. Go now.
Those words have never, ever come out of my wife's mouth. And that one of those words probably has never come out of her mouth ever. And then the other one's never with that direction.
Now!
Yep. Nah. So I go when it's convenient. And so for me, I've been in the afternoon and then I got to wait in line for 25 minutes and I don't like doing that.
Yeah.
So I go when there's not a lot of people. And when there's not a lot of people, I can park right next to the corral. So when I go to Price Chopper, I drive in until the door, the entry, it's right there on my right, and then I turn left into that parking lane. That's the lane I park in, and then you've got
now
you've got
telling
4
everybody
spots.
The secret. Don't
That's
do
okay.
that.
That's okay. There's 4 spots. I can walk. I'll park further away. It's okay. If people want to use this tactic, go for it. I'll see you at Price Chopper at 9 o'clock. But if I got to wait in line, you're going to have to listen to me talk. I'm not going to complain, but I'm going to talk to you about something, and it might be anarchy. So be prepared. Or I might try to get you to listen to some of my music. Hey, did you hear this song? I'm like, wait, that's you. Yeah, it's me. Did you hear it? So that's what'll happen if you go to Price Chopper at 9 o'clock at night and you see me there. But when you pull into that first lane, that lane there right across from the door, lined up with the thing, you go down, there's 4 spots. Yeah. There's really 8 spots. So you can park right on the sides of those shopping cart corrals. You can park here, right? So you park right next to the cart corral. And you're all set. You got to walk a little bit further to get in. Everybody's always trying to park as close to the door as possible. Why? Think ahead. Think about where you're going to be later when you got all your stuff. So I go and do my shopping. I come out with the shopping cart full of things. I put the bags in my van, and then I'm 4 feet from the shopping cart return. So if this makes me a good human being, well, all right, I'm a good human being. If this is the litmus test of decency, then I guess I passed the test without even realizing it. Because I think ahead. I don't want to have to walk forever to put that cart away. So I park right next to the cart return. I go when those spots are going to be empty. There's 8 spots right next to those 2 central shopping carts. And there's other returns too. So I could park other places, but those are the ones that are right down the aisle. That's where I like to park.
What if
this is a perfect scenario for me.
What if it's just you and the kids?
Mm-hmm.
Kid or kids in your car.
And I park further away from a shopping cart return?
Yes. Now,
put them in the car.
Yes.
Put the groceries in the car. And I put the cart away. And I line up the carts.
But you didn't just say part of your list was not lock the car door before you bring the cart back.
Try and break into my van when I'm 6 feet away from it. What do you want?
True. But what about the asshats like me that have that 15-mile walk to the cart return?
Put your hat on your head and walk the 15 miles. Put the cart away.
Lock the cart.
If you have to,
lock your kid in the car.
Right.
All right.
Or give them a ride safely in the cart.
What if it's snowing like? What if it's snowing like a bastard? And
it's Vermont.
You don't have time.
It snowed.
You
There's
don't have
always
time for this.
What do you have to do? What is
need
so
to
important?
Get home. You
Why?
need to get home.
Leave earlier to go to the grocery store. A little bit of planning, proper planning prevents
piss poor performance.
There you go. Right. Okay.
It's the 6 P's.
I remember the first part of it. I couldn't remember that. I knew there was more alliteration, but I couldn't remember what the rest of it was.
Prior planning prevents piss poor performance.
I think it's something different on the Curious George cartoon.
Come on, are you
which
serious?
is what reminded me of. Yeah, they didn't say piss poor performance.
Would you send that to me when you find it?
Yeah.
All right.
I will.
There's another shirt that we need. We need to go into the shirt making business.
We should. We really should.
We'll be
it's
intrinsically motivated, and we'll also be filthy rich.
Yeah, we will.
I want to ask you. We're talking.
Are we done with the shopping cart theory?
Yeah.
Okay.
I wanted to ask you this. isn't it ironic how, with regard to self-improvement, whether it's whatever it is that you're doing, let's take losing weight, eating healthier. There's almost constantly another barrier that's presenting itself in front of you. You could say, well, I'm going to start January 1st.
Yeah, in July, that's a great plan.
Right.
So you got 6 months to not.
And then then you got Valentine's Day, chocolates.
Right. Then
you got Easter, chocolates.
Right. I was just telling somebody recently, were we talking about it? Because that's always my thing. Like, I seem to get this motivation to try and exercise or get back into healthier eating habits sometime in the fall. And then it's like, okay, well, there's Halloween, and there's Thanksgiving, and then there's Christmas, and then I have a child with a birthday in January, and then there's Valentine's Day, and then there's Easter, and I have a child with a birthday in March.
Yeah,
and we got a birthday in April, a birthday in May, and there's Memorial Day, and then 4th of July, and then anniversary and my birthday's in July, and our anniversary, and then August is the only month that there's no like built-in holiday or cake time for us.
Cake, yes.
I guess September too.
Yeah, and you know, and of course this is the glorious time of year when we start celebrating the Girl Scouts and Girl Scout cookies. I mean, they're right here. I think
I haven't seen them yet.
I think online sales start the end of February. But you know, the Scout motto is to be prepared. So I am prepared for the Girl Scout cookies.
You got your money saved up?
I am putting some money away.
You know, I read years ago, and this destroyed me on Girl Scout cookies. I mean, I get it. You know, you pay twice as much for a box of cookies as you should. Well, as you could somewhere else, because you're contributing money to the organization. So it's about the donation. It's not about the reward for you. And so the reward should be the joy in your heart that you get for contributing to this beneficial program, not the cookies.
Right.
But whatever. But I saw some. You know how a lot of food manufacturing gets put into different boxes.
Yes.
Same plant makes the same food.
Yes.
It's like Hood milk. Hannaford milk is Hood milk. Secret's out. Somebody told me. Now I rat it out.
What?
I'm a whistleblower. If you buy Hannaford milk, that milk comes from the same packaging that Hood.
What?
I got a target on my head now. They're out to get me. But so if I go into Hannaford to buy milk, I'm going to buy the Hannaford brand milk because I'm going to pay $1 less, but I'm getting the exact same milk that's in the Hood bottle. It's just in a Hannaford bottle. And this happens. That's a local example, but this happens on a national scale.
Huge.
When you buy Price Chopper brand food, it's not made by Price Chopper. Some of it's made by other, they're all made by food manufacturing companies. But somebody somewhere that makes some kind of cracker or cookie puts it into the Nabisco or some other brand packaging,
yeah, right.
But then they simultaneously are putting it into the Price Chopper brand packaging. This happens, and so you're paying $3 more for the brand name than you do then you're not buying the product, you're buying the brand name at that point. And then so this is exactly what's going on. Hood is a good example of this. They're putting the same. This is my understanding. I'm not going to say anything else because I don't want anybody to die, and I don't trust any of these groups.
So what you're
I'm
saying?
sounding crazy today. I like it.
So what you're saying is if I went to
right. So the cookies, the Girl Scout cookies. There's I forget what brand it is.
You're
It's
telling
not
me
Keebler.
that you're going to know the difference between Girl Scout Thin Mints and Keebler Thin Mints? You're telling me you're going to know the difference?
Yes. I can't on certain if it's not made in the same factory. But there's I forget who makes. I don't know if Girl Scout cookies or maybe it was the dollar store cookies. Now I might be all confused. But there is whatever it was along these same lines. It's like you can get the exact same cookie, not outdated. The same cookie. It's like two cookies are made in the same production line. One drops into a Nabisco package and one drops into a store brand package. I don't know if Girl Scout cookies are doing the same thing or not, but you can get it's the same cookie, but it's in two different brands, and you're going to pay $2 more for one than the other. But it's the same cookie. They're brothers. They're brother cookies. They were created together, equal, but separate cookies.
Sherilyn will fight you to the death on this. That if you took the generic Oreo and put it next to Oreo.
Well, because it says Oreo on the Oreo. No, tell the difference.
Blindfold.
All right.
Blindfold. Mm-hmm. She'll call you out immediately.
What?
No.
She says that you you can't tell the
question.
difference, or you can tell the difference?
You can.
Yes, you can. Yes, I'm not saying that every food that looks the same.
Don't start fighting with me about cookies.
I'm fighting with Sherilyn now. All right, you're just proxy. Okay, if you have I'm not saying that just because they look the same. All right, so Girl Scout Thin Mints and Keebler Grasshoppers, right? They look the same. They look the same. I don't know if they're made in the same. I don't know. I'm just saying this is. I'm just spreading rumors for the sake of spreading rumors.
Good.
Right? But if they're made in the same factory, then they will taste the same. If there's any difference in the taste, it's because you have it in your mind that the packaging makes a difference. The brand name makes a difference, and that's placebo. And if it's not made in the same factory, yes, you will taste the difference. Okay, years ago I made one of my little Stickman cartoons, and it had this like hopper, and it's putting out lemon powder, and one's going into the store brand lemon drink mix, and the other one's going into the dishwasher detergent. Because that powder cascade smelled a lot like my store brand lemonade drink mix. And so it's but it's the same hopper, and it goes down. One says lemonade, one says dishwasher, and it's two separate conveyor belts.
You made this?
Yeah. You didn't look at my cartoons?
No, I'd love that.
Post the link.
Shit.
I'll post the link.
Oh my
I'll
God.
do it when I'm not talking.
That's fantastic.
Well, it's when I was blogging back in the day. So here's an intrinsic, extrinsic motivation storyline. There's a thing floating in there. You get distracted by something. It takes you on this. You go through this you relive a moment in your life.
No, I have no idea.
In a fraction of a second.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
So I started blogging when I was in college, like 2008, 2009, and I did a blog for about a year, and it was great. I did it because I liked it. It was fun. I just type out any kind of crazy stuff.
That's intrinsic
Total
motivation.
Intrinsic motivation, and so it was a lot of fun. And I did that for about a year and a half, and then I slowed down because I wasn't into it anymore, and that was okay. But then I started thinking I can make money off of blogging, and so then I tried harder. And that's when I started to force. You can't force anything. You just have to do it. You got to flow with it. And this is the Taoism principles. And so I started to force it. And I said, I'm going to blog for money. And I started reading about search engine optimization and all those kind of things. And it destroyed it. Because it wasn't, and there were still some things I would write that was good, but it wasn't me anymore. I lost my voice because I was trying to be something else. And so the extrinsic motivation wasn't there. Nobody said, here's money to do it. Right. I was trying. So in my mind, I was putting this extrinsic motivation onto it, and it didn't work for me and destroyed my blogging things. But I took a lot of my older posts that I liked and put them together as a book just to test out the process of making an ebook, and that was cool. And then I made a print, because Amazon does print books. On demand. So I have that. So some of my older blog posts of that. But then at some point when I was trying to force the blog, I was still doing good things with it, but my motivation was primarily, I want to get money for this.
Interesting.
And it didn't work out for me because I was too tied to that. So I lost some of the authenticity. But I was doing a comic strip as part of my blog, and so I call it Monday Morning Make Me Laugh or something like that. So the comic strip I ended up calling Make Me Laugh. But all I do is stickman drawings. Is the best I can. I'm trying other things now, but I would draw them on Microsoft Paint, and then I got Paint.net, and that really stepped up my game because they had textures and stuff and fills and layers. It was a whole new world for me. But so I'm drawing stickmen on the. I've been drawing stickmen since 1992. That was my thing. Me and my friend Chris back in middle school in New Jersey, we were always drawing stickmen I was doing flip books. I still got a copy of A Christmas Carol that I read every year. I didn't read it this year. It was the first year in probably 30 years I hadn't read it, 20 years, whatever. But I draw a little stickman card. It's Merry Christmas. You flip the pages on the side of the book, and every page is a different little drawing on it, and you flip it, and it looks like a cartoon.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I still got that book in my office.
Animation.
Yeah, exactly.
Whoa.
I don't know. Yeah, I was explaining something basic and simple that everybody understands.
Yeah.
I do that a lot. And so I did the comic strip, though, and I did it for, I don't know, a year. I had 100-something comics, and then I put them together in an ebook, and I also put it together in a print book, but then I took that off Amazon for whatever reason.
You need to drop some of this stuff into the comments here, pal. It's good stuff.
I have a link for the ebook thing. You can get it for free. I don't care. It's if you can pay me if you want. It's got because Gumroad is a marketplace on electronic marketplace, and so it says how much you want to pay for it, and then you can pay whatever you want. You can give me $10,000 for it if you want to, but you don't have to.
If someone did, would you still be intrinsically motivated?
Yeah, because this is a product that I created, and I have no expectation, but it's for free. I've already posted it on Facebook a bunch of times where just the link, you can go get it for free.
I need to watch your stuff more on Facebook.
I don't get on there very much right now. I'm focusing on YouTube right now. That's where I'm putting my energy.
it's
It's bringing me joy to make animations. I like it. I just started doing it again this month. It's really fun.
I want to
Takes a lot of
see
time.
this kind of stuff. Well, you're so creative. So what's going on with you musically? You're a musician too. You're also a licensed alcohol and drug counselor.
Yeah.
LADC.
Yeah.
You're such an insightful dude, but you're also very much an artist. Not just
We all are.
Not just with this type of art that we're talking about, but also musically.
Mm-hmm. Well, life is art.
Well,
We're creators in our lives.
well,
Doesn't have to be good art, but you're an
many,
artist.
for many of us,
No, we all are. We all
Well.
are. Whether you know it or not. Well, all right. So this is the thing. If you don't know that you're doing something, then are you really doing it? Okay, all right. Well, so from my perspective, and this doesn't have to be anybody else's perspective, but from my perspective, we are all artists. And I've adopted this from the Toltec, from the Four Agreements, Don Miguel Ruiz. We're all artists. We're all creating. We create our own dream. There's the dream of the world, where it's all of us together combined have a dream of the world, and that's all this culture and nonsense. It seems so corrupted. But then we each have our own individual dream, but we create these entirely. And all this, the law of attraction, The Secret, that book or documentary movie thing called The Secret. It's a terrible presentation of this idea, from my perspective, but it's good information. That we're attractive beings of energy. We attract things into our lives. And so that's how you manifest. You attract it into your life, but you attract it through likeness, through resonance. By being the thing that you want, you attract what you want. So we have this external focus. So you got the extrinsic motivation, you've got external locus of control.
I'm seeing the album cover of Dark Side of the Moon right now.
Which one is that? The Prism?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm seeing.
Okay.
Sorry. Go ahead.
No, what is it teaching you to see
what
that?
you're saying right
It's just
now.
reminding you
It's
that-
what
yeah.
you're saying.
Also, we can be there's if you have a perspective that outside external things are what matter, and everything that happens to you is because of this outside stuff, then you're not really the creator. You feel like things are happening to you, but things are happening for you. Gary Temple Bodley is another name you could look into. He has a book called A Radical Change in Your Approach to Life, and so a lot of people might be turned off by that because he claims that he's channeling an entity or a group of entities called Joshua, and so he was meditating for a while, like daily, at this process of meditation, and at some point he felt impressed to start writing things down. So he would do this meditation process, and then he would write. And by the way he explains it, he was channeling this information coming from an entity named Joshua, whether it's a single entity or multiple entities. I don't know. I think it could be both or either. And I think if I had seen this book 10 years ago, 5 years ago, even, well, when did I read it? It's been 5 years. Like prior to my transition from religion into spirituality, when I left that stuff behind, before, when I was believing in those kind of ways of life, everything was set and structured. I had this real hardcore beliefs. I would have totally dismissed this book.
Mormon.
I was Mormon.
Wow.
I would love to talk about that someday.
We will. We will.
I still am.
Fascinating.
I haven't removed myself from the records, but I don't participate, and I have my reasons why, and I'll explain it intellectually to anybody who wants to know.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I got all kinds of things to say on that one. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, so Gary Temple Bodley, I would have rejected this idea of channeling. I would have said that's some kind of crazy voodoo Satan stuff that I would have dismissed and just flat out 10 years ago. But luckily I didn't. When the book was suggested to me, this was about a year after I read the Four Agreements, and so I was still working on those principles, and I read this, and it jump-started me. This was the thing I needed at that time, because when I read that book, it totally picked up where Four Agreements had left off for me and built on everything that I'd been practicing in my evolution, and it took me along further, and it helped to explain the law of attraction to me in a way that made sense, and I was able to start putting it into order. So it's a great book. He's got a couple of meditations that are fantastic too. Financial abundance meditation, the joy meditation, the passion meditation, and healthy relationships meditations. And I think there's another one
On YouTube?
on YouTube, on Spotify. Gary Temple Bodley meditations, and he also has like a video podcast vlog kind of thing that he does on there. But I haven't watched him much. I've read his book, and I like those couple of meditations. They're great. They're not traditional, like they're different meditations. It's instead of like breathe and imagine this and stuff like that. It's like it's a couple of minutes of explanation. Each one is 15 minutes long exactly. It's a couple of minutes of explanation of the topic, and you just listen to it, and then it's now repeat after me, kind of thing. Like you repeat this phrase, and it does that for a couple minutes.
Transcendental?
Well, it's practicing your thoughts, mantra, hypnosis.
Okay.
Putting your. When you say it, it's different than just hearing it. But I like it a lot. The passion meditation that he's got is fantastic, and it's about the same. It's kind of follows along this intrinsic, extrinsic factors.
Wow.
I lost whatever that was.
I'm going to be finding the earbuds here tonight for sure. Wow. That's great stuff, dude. What's happening musically? With
music. So I started a band in 1999. How far back do you want to go? Right here in Barrie.
Is that the beginning lyrics to one of the songs?
No.
All right.
It could be. I write that song. I'll write that song for you. I've done that before. Someone gives me a phrase and I write a song about it.
We're asking, Becky's asking, can you please repeat who does the meditations?
Gary Temple Bodley.
Spell it.
Gary space Temple space Bodley. I think it's Ley. I always type it wrong, but YouTube knows. It's on Spotify and YouTube, probably other places too. Those are the two places I've listened to it. Gary Temple Bodley, passion meditation, or financial abundance meditation, or healthy relationships meditation, or joy meditation. Joy and passion, those two are fantastic.
I want to listen to the joy meditation one while I'm knee deep into a box of tagalongs.
Perfect.
Go ahead. Musically.
Okay, so music. So I started playing. I really got into punk rock in the late 90s, and the music became really important to me. And I watched Gavin Rossdale playing. He's in Bush, so I would watch Bush play. It was a replay of Woodstock 99. And I hadn't, at that point, I hadn't connected that all of these songs was this one band. I'd heard them on the radio and stuff, but I hadn't looked into that band specifically at that point. But it was like Come Down, Machine Head, Mouth, Swallowed, Greedy Fly. It's a fantastic song. But so I'm watching Gavin Rossdale play these songs, I'm thinking, I want to be this guy. I want to be him. He's amazing. And so I got a guitar that weekend. Bought a guitar and taught myself how to play. But I couldn't. Bush was too difficult to play their songs at the time for me, so I learned on Blink-182, and I was able to manage that. And then my friend Sean said, well, I'll get a bass, and we'll start a band. And then so we found a drummer, and we started playing. And we played for a couple of years, wrote a bunch of songs and stuff, and then separated. And then when I was at college, I did a little acoustic album, my own stuff. And then over the last, 13 years or something, I haven't really done much. Well, the last couple of years I've been into this, but I've tried playing with a couple different people, and then my friend John, he's got a band called Hidden Horizon. He's from here, John Dutil, from Barrie, but he's living in Virginia now. But we used to play together back in the day. He had a band, he was in my band, I was in his band, and but so he started using GarageBand as an app on Apple makes it, so it's on the iPad and iPhone and everything like that, and he used that to record, and you can program drums and program all the instruments. You can do all the instrumentation right in there. It's all MIDI instruments. And it doesn't sound quite real in some cases, but a lot of it sounds real. Like the drums sound so good, and there's a lot you can really get precise. And you can you program. It's not like they have an auto drummer where you can send. That's what I first started doing. You just you select one of their. It's like an AI drummer kind of idea. You set your person, different style of music, different drum kit, and then just tell it what you can adjust it. But then you can get to the point where you're saying bass hit, snare hit, tom hit, cymbal, and you can do it. You go right on the grid along the. By measure and whatever. It's really cool. So you can get really detailed in that. And so he and I have been doing that for the last couple of years. He's released a whole bunch of music, and he was helping me a lot.
From different states.
Yeah, he's in Virginia. We share a project, and we can both go in, and we're working on one of his songs right now. It's called Already Gone, and so it should be finished pretty soon. And my sister did backing vocals for it. So and John he asked me to do the guitar, so I did acoustic guitar on it, and then he did some electric guitar and bass and drums and putting some other instrumentation in it, did the lead vocals, and then I went over to my sister's house and recorded her doing backing vocals. And so it's cool. So we can work on it all together.
Can I drop a link here? Is there anything I can put on here, or should we wait?
Yeah, we can. I don't know. I can put some stuff on
all
there.
Right, yeah.
He's at Hidden Horizon, though. You look it up on YouTube or Spotify or Facebook. He's got a page. But So he and I have been working on my old band songs. We re-recorded a bunch of those songs. 'Cause we recorded them back 20 years ago on a 4-track on cassette tapes, and stuff. And we didn't have good quality equipment. We didn't know we were doing as much or whatever. And so now being able to record it digitally, and then there's a sound engineer that John found on Fiverr, and so I've been working with him. His name's Ivan, blindsitemix@gmail.com. If you need a sound engineer, you can email him. And he's been awesome. He's got great rates, and this whole stupid Russia-Ukraine stuff, it's not stupid for the people who are dying, but it's stupid the reason that the governments are doing it just to get money. But he wasn't able to function because he was in Russia, and so on some of these platforms they wouldn't allow him to. So he had to change his whole life so that he can still survive financially. But anyway, so he's good. So I got a professional to mix my songs and master them, and it sounds better than anything I can come up with on my own. And so it's still, you can tell it's not like Blink-182 level of radio ready, but it's really good quality, and it holds up with a lot of other punk bands, at least, early 2000s, 1999 era kind of stuff. And so I did an album of my old band songs, and then I did an album of some of the songs that we never really played as a band, but I wrote them back in that time frame. And then I've had a couple of songs that I wrote around 2010 that I just finished up those, and so those are going to be out on Tuesday. There's 5 songs. That's going to be live for streaming and stuff on Tuesday, and that's what I'm working on, doing these lyric videos on YouTube right now. Some of those songs and and then I also have another. So I just recorded all these songs together, and I was getting them mastered over time. We just do one song at a time, and so then I didn't do them in any kind of order. So I ended up with 2 albums ready to go at the same time. So I got a 5-song, it's technically an extended play single, coming out on January 31st, next Tuesday, and then February 20th I have a 7-song album, and those are all new ones. So this one on Tuesday, I call it Break Up, Breakdown. I got dumped by a girl back in 2010, and I was devastated, and so I wrote a couple songs about that, and so I finally recorded those. So that's coming out on Tuesday, and then the next batch of songs are ones I've been writing over the last 3 years, and they're all inspired by all this philosophy stuff that we're talking about. So there's one song I wrote, I call it Jazz, because it was kind of like a jazzy riff that I came up with initially, and then when I was trying to figure out lyrics for it, I was listening to Alan Watts, and he was this lecture about play, and so he's talking about make work play, and so I wrote this song. It's like a mantra song about it's just turning what Alan Watts was saying into a song. And that's what I had a song, Ocean Never Drains, a couple years ago, and it was this idea that I was talking to my friend about something. She was talking about something in her life, and I said, well, the tide rolls in, the tide rolls out, but the ocean never drains. And I think I'd heard that somewhere else, but it had that some kind of a spiritual meaning in the moment, or like kind of just like there's going to be change, but it remains constant. Like nothing's lost. You see the tide going out, but the ocean doesn't change. It's still the ocean. It doesn't disappear, and it comes in, but it's not. It's still the same thing. And so I wrote a song based on that, but it was like every phrase in that song was drawn from Joe Dispenza or the Four Agreements or something like that. So it's all of these songs kind of read like spiritual philosophy textbook stuff. But
I'm such a Dispenza fan. Oh my God!
So that album's February 20th.
So next Tuesday when you're on, obviously, can we?
Yeah, we play the whole thing.
Drop some links and
oh yeah,
that's freaking awesome, dude.
And it's fun. Fantastic. I like doing it.
It's fantastic.
And I made $40 last year on Spotify or like all the streaming services.
Wow.
I'm not going to tell you how much I spent.
That's more than I've made on monetization through Facebook. Yeah,
no, but like it's neat to be able to get money for doing your art, to do your art and to potentially make a living off of it. That's kind of the goal of any artist or musician or whatever.
Sure.
It's fun. It's a cool idea. But I have a day job, and I like my day job, and I continue to do my day job. But I'll do these other things too, and I give it out. It's for free. Right. I'm giving it for free. I'm not selling any albums anywhere. I guess you could buy it on iTunes or something like that, but why when you can stream it for free everywhere? But so I put it up on YouTube. It's on Spotify. It's everywhere. There's like 20 different streaming services that DistroKid is the company that I go through for distribution. But it's out there. The songs are out there. It's great for any kind of independent artist. There's like 100,000 new songs added to streaming services every day. So you're never going to...
Every day.
There's too many amazing songs out there to listen to all of them. But I'm just adding mine to the mix because it's fun for me. So I'm intrinsically motivated. Years ago, when I tried to extrinsically motivate myself to do the writing, I destroyed it. I mean, there was a time when I was I did the test book with my old blog post, and I wrote a book about autism. I call it Secondhand Autism. My brother's autistic, and secondhand autism being like secondhand smoke. So it's like the smoker, and then but the people around them get affected by it too. So autism, but the people around the autistic person get affected by it too. And so it's a little memoir about my family's experience with autism. So I wrote that, and then I was looking for another book to write and talking to some friends and whatever, and I came up with this book idea, and so that's why I wrote Never Trust a Zombie.
Never Trust a Zombie, which we have a copy of, and we're going to be...
give it away.
You and I are going to be...
We got to figure out a way to give it away to somebody.
We're going
to
pre-promote that as a whole separate episode with you, and
I'm going to start. So
we're going to dive into that one.
My intention this year is to build up my YouTube channel, because I've tried doing things on YouTube before. When I got my band back together a couple years ago, and we started playing right before the pandemic, we played 2 shows. Played at Charlie O's. Finally played at Charlie O's for 20 years. We always play in the churches and stuff here. We rent them out. But we played Charlie O's and then Sweet Melissa's, which I guess isn't there anymore. And then 2 days later, the pandemic, 2 weeks to flatten the curve. And so 2 weeks later, everything was over, and I could have gone back to playing, but I chose not to. So 3 years later, after the 2 weeks to flatten the curve, here we are, and people can play music again. Whatever. Okay, that's my political commentary there. People, none of it matters, but I have biases too, but whatever, it doesn't matter. I don't attach to them deeply. But so anyway, we started playing, and then the whole world shut down, so then we stopped playing. But I was trying to build a YouTube channel then. I was doing little vlog posts and stuff. That's I got a Ready or Not, that was my band name, Ready or Not YouTube channel, and I was Ready or Not Rock or something like that. Then I abandoned that one, and so now I'm back to my Paul Brodie music and stuff channel that I put some songs on years ago. I've been putting stuff on there every once in a while, and but now I'm making a concentrated effort to build that one up. That's the social media. If YouTube's even a social media, it's the one I like the most, or I can actually get into. I don't like Facebook. I don't like Twitter. I don't like Instagram. I don't know. It's too much or something. I think it's too much for me. It's just too much going on. So YouTube, I like. You subscribe to a person, they put something up, it comes in your feed. You watch it or you don't.
Yeah.
And you like it, you comment on it. Great.
Yeah,
you can strike up conversations. It's fun.
And we're live on YouTube right now.
On YouTube or Facebook?
Both.
Are you live on YouTube too?
Both.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I think we're somewhere around, I want to say 600 subs on Facebook. So, but it's painstakingly slow to grow.
Yeah.
Can be.
Yeah.
But if you do really stupid shit from your dining room table on your phone, then your YouTube may grow.
Then you're viral.
I
right.
mean, woo.
Well, it's so hard because, like I said, 100,000 new songs being added every day.
Sure,
How's anybody going to find you? How many
Right.
podcasts are out there? Millions. And with Joe Rogan eating up 3 hours of everybody's day,
Right.
there's no time to listen to anything else.
Yeah.
Or like you sent me that Open Mind, what's that podcast? Something Mind?
The Hidden Brain.
Hidden Brain, right. You sent me that link 2 weeks ago. I haven't listened to it yet. There's so many other things I'm trying to create
It's
and
great
consume
stuff.
that
I know.
you gotta balance. What am I taking in? What am I putting out?
Yeah.
But I really love turning stickmen into animation. It's really fun. So for the last 3 weeks, that's basically every free moment I'm on Procreate on the iPad and this little app, drawing on the thing, trying to make these cartoons, and so it's fun. But
there's barely enough time to go to Price Chopper and put the cart back.
That's why I go at 9 p.m.
with everything that's going on. Yeah. Wow. If we were to live together and I was with you all the time, I would be probably shouting at you on the hour, Paul, put all of this in a website. Why is this not in a website? PaulBrodie.com.
Because PaulBrodie.com belongs to...
Condense it all together.
PaulBrodie.com belongs to a guy who makes boots and shoes and stuff.
Oh, stop.
So I got PaulBrodie.net back in 2013, but then when I stopped doing all that stuff, I got tired. I didn't want to pay for it anymore, so I let it lapse, and now it's like it's in Japanese or something. It's like somebody took whenever a domain expires, somebody buys it up because maybe it's getting traffic, so somebody bought it up.
PaulBrodieKicksAss.com. Something.
So we all have our interests and we have our strengths and all that kind of stuff. My strength is not promotion. And that's why I don't like the social media stuff. I will create all day long, but I have no desire to go out and sell it. So
can we move in together? Just yes or no. Just talk to Kathy.
All right.
Because
I'll answer you later.
I
Yeah.
would.
I think it's a great TV show.
You need a website, pal, to put all of these things.
Do you know I have a website, imaginemovingon.com.
Well,
but I don't have this stuff on there. I got that stuff on there. I don't have anything. I don't like doing websites. I mean, when I was doing the blog thing, I was using a WordPress. I used WordPress and I did the paulbrodie.net, and it's just that stuff doesn't interest me.
All right.
I'm not. If it was a paycheck, maybe. So that's where extrinsic motivation could come in. If I started making money on some of these things, maybe I would be more inclined to do it. But I still don't want to. I'd be more inclined to hire somebody to do it. That would be the way to go.
Yeah.
But the money's not there. So for now, I'm content to create art and put it up there wherever I can, when I can, and see what happens. But that's fun.
My God, I mean, it's fascinating to hear this. We have, and not to be a downer here, but I mean, this is this is huge, man. It doesn't matter what you're. It's all over everyone's phone. It's all over everyone's TV. It's all over the radio. It's all over the internet. It's everywhere. Another mass shooting in California. That makes 38 mass shootings so far this year. In a year's time, 12 months. So we have at least 7 people that are dead in Half Moon Bay, California. The second mass shooting in California in 48 hours.
And how many were there in Chicago in that same period of time that are not going to make the news?
Well said.
Something to look into. It was interesting to see some of the foolish tweets that some of the politicians and stuff had made initially when this first came out, trying to push agendas, and then to see that the agendas they were pushing might not actually be accurate.
Do you think that there's any truth to the statement that sick people are inspired by the violent stories that they see and hear on the news? Do you think mass shootings can be contagious?
I think negativity, or not negative. I don't like to use negativity because it's got so many different connotations, that word. But I think low vibration being it invites more low vibration being. Like this idea of frequency resonance and stuff like that. The law of attraction. What you are feeling, you're either going to attract into your life. What you're feeling, you're going to attract into your life. And sometimes what you're feeling might attract you to something that might lead you to feel more comfortable with something else. I don't understand this, so I'm trying to use these explanations that I've heard that I feel like I understand, or I want to understand more. So like this idea that we are attractive beings. Everything in our lives is because we bring it into it, or somebody else is imposing into it. But I don't know. We're all sick things. So who's healthy among us?
Right.
We've all got these tendencies and perceptions or whatever. So I'm not inspired by violent acts, but some people might be. When somebody's completely lost and hope, I don't want to say lost even, but like hopeless, or just someone who does, I don't know. It's hard to say. It's impossible to say.
Hear you.
I don't know. I don't think that. I mean, I don't know. I was looking at this a couple years ago. There was when in the string of mass shootings. There's always been mass shootings, and they happen around the world too. It's not just America. They make it seem like it's just America, but these things happen everywhere. I mean, other countries that have stricter gun laws or prohibitions. It's not even gun laws. It's just prohibitions of gun ownership. Countries with stricter prohibition of gun ownership might have less shootings, but they have more stabbings.
Sure.
And there's still violent acts regardless.
England is one of many examples.
Yeah. This idea that America... All right, I don't know how to say this, how to phrase this. We're a warmongering country. Collectively, the United States of America is a warmongering country. You and I might not be warmongers, but the United States of America collectively is a warmongering country. There's a lot of people that make a lot of money off of war. And there's a lot of people go on TV and talk about the importance of war for national security and all these kind of things, all our economic interests and our peace and safety. And they make those statements. And these people are getting paid because they work for or they're invested in war companies, people who make bombs, munitions companies, vehicles, whatever. So when you go on TV and you say, I think it's important that the United States get involved with this, protecting Ukraine. It's important for our national interest and for security and to uphold the Constitution. They start saying all these propaganda things. Like, how? They're human beings like us, but so is every other human being in the country. And we ignore a lot of the other atrocities that are happening everywhere else. There's genocides going on in Africa, and we ignore a lot of these things. Why do we focus on the ones that we focus on? But you look at the people who are on TV talking about and promoting it, and why are they promoting this? Why are they saying it's a good idea to go to war? Well, look at where their money's invested. They benefit from this a lot. I mean, look back with Iraq and Afghanistan. I was believing the propaganda of America. I enlisted in the Army when I was 20 years old. September of 2001, I'm already in talks with the Army recruiter. Started talking to him in August. I'm 20 years old, working at Subway. What am I going to do with my life? I did the junior ROTC at Spalding. Had an affinity for the Army.
A month before 9/11?
Yeah, I started talking to the recruiter,
A month before 9/11.
So I'm working at Subway in Montpelier on 9/11. And the news is unfolding, and nobody's coming in to get sandwiches, and I'm listening to the radio, and the Army recruiter, Sergeant Plouffe, calls me just right down here by the Chinese restaurant recruiter's office in 2001, calls me and says, so, you see what's going on? I said, yeah. And he said, you still want to go? You still want to? I was scheduled to go to MEPS, the entrancing processing station in Massachusetts, Springfield, Massachusetts, the following week, the 18th of September. The only reason I remember this is because of September 11th. It's a snapshot memory. But so I was scheduled to go to MEPS, and he calls me up. You still want to go next week? I said, yeah, absolutely, because I was in the propaganda. It's like war. That's what I want to be a soldier. That's what war is about. So I enlisted in the Army. I wanted to be in the infantry because I wanted to be a soldier. I was 20. I don't know what I'm doing. I didn't know what I was doing. I thought I did. I didn't. Luckily for me, I got it. I completed basic training, hated it. I loved it, elements of it, but I was miserable while I was there. I told the drill sergeant a couple weeks in, I have to go home. I can't do this. Well, you can't do that, and whatever. So he had let me call my dad, and my dad had been in the Navy, and he said, well, the fastest way out of basic training is to complete it. I thought, that makes sense, so let's do it. So I did it, and I got through basic, then went down to Fort Hood, Texas for my duty stations in the Mechanized Infantry, 1st Cavalry Division. And I got down there, and there's hazing, and there's nonsense going on. These guys are teasing me and stuff, and it's probably all playful for them, but for me, I couldn't handle it. I couldn't take it. And I snapped, and I killed everybody. No, I didn't. But it was difficult for me, and I was struggling. I was pretty rough. And it was a couple weeks in or a month into being there, I had a panic attack. And so they took me, I thought I was dying. I'd never experienced something like that before in my life. And so they took me to the psychologist, and he said, he diagnosed me with generalized anxiety disorder. And it was like 5 months into my enlistment. And so he said, because you're not 6 months yet, we can separate you. And it's like you're not here. We don't owe you anything. You don't owe us anything. You just go home. I said, all right, let's do it. It took 2 months to process me out of there, but I came home. And that was the best thing for me at the time. So I was chaptered out for anxiety disorder from the Army. But mentally I wanted to be there. My body wouldn't keep up. And then years later, I was talking to somebody. He said, maybe that was your spirit knew that wasn't the right thing for you, and that made sense to me. It was so discordant with what I should have been doing. But I was believing the propaganda. I was domesticated into being a patriotic American, and I was at the time. And then I was all for go to war. I didn't think I gave a thought to.
Are you still patriotic?
No, it's propaganda. We're humans. I'm not going to tie my allegiance to anything that man makes, whatever. I'm not attaching to these beliefs anymore, these stories. But at the time, I was deeply attached. I was internalizing it, and I believed that stuff. And I didn't care if we're going to Iraq. You could say, what does Iraq have to do with 9/11? Doesn't matter. Terrorists, bad guys, and I was in that mindset back then, and it's awful. But that's where I was. And so it's taken me all these years, but I've grown out of it or evolved out of it or whatever.
I was just going to say the word evolve. I mean, My God, we're all evolving.
Mm-hmm. But it was one of those biases that I had for a long time that I had to but the more I dug into this conservative kind of thing, like that's where I was coming from. The more I looked into it, the more I realized these guys are all criminals. John McCain's a criminal. That was the first election, McCain-Obama, that was the first election I got interested in. That was the first time I ever voted. And I think the last time I ever voted, too. Because I realized these guys aren't good. None of them do what they say they're going to do. There's all propaganda and lies. All of it. Every single one of them. They all do the same things. They all go to war. They all do more drone attack killings than the previous guy. They all increase the debt more than the previous guy did. So what's the difference? There's like 5 or 6 social, kind of like moral social questions that the two parties will differ on, and that's where they divide everybody. A house divided cannot stand, said the great divider, Abraham Lincoln. Look into this stuff. Read these things. And go into the history. And it's being changed. It's manipulated. All kinds of stuff. It's rewritten. Everything we think we know is just the result of marketing and advertising. It's all to sell us on something. It's crazy.
And spin.
And what?
Spin.
Yeah.
Damn, boy.
But you don't have to...
We went from slaughtering chickens to
slaughtering humans.
Returning shopping carts to... Wow.
There was this, my friend Dan, he was my first guru, Dan Fine. He's a berry person for a number of years. He just moved a couple years ago. I worked with him in the state treasurer's office years ago. That's how I met him. On Facebook a few days ago, he had his Galileo quote. We got time?
Yeah, go.
All right. This is Galileo Galilei. Says, in the long run, my observations have convinced me that some men, reasoning preposterously, first establish some conclusion in their minds which, either because of its being their own or because of their having received it from some person who has their entire confidence, impresses them so deeply that one finds it impossible ever to get it out of their heads. Such arguments in support of their fixed idea gain their instant acceptance and applause. On the other hand, whatever is brought forward against it, however ingenious and conclusive, they receive with disdain or with hot rage, if indeed it does not make them ill. Beside themselves with passion, some of them would not be backward even about scheming to suppress and silence their adversaries. I have had some experience of this myself. No good can come of dealing with such people, especially to the extent that their company may be not only unpleasant but dangerous. So this idea that we've got it in our minds. You want that?
Yeah, I want you to text that to me.
We've got if we believe it because we think it came from here and it's so important, it's like this is the most important thought, or it came from someone we implicitly trust, we attach so deeply. And this is why the 5 Levels of Attachment is such an important book. You attach so deeply to this idea because it's what when I was a Mormon, I believed what they said. Anything that those guys said, I believed because I believed that they spoke for God. So I was so deeply attached to that, almost bordering on the fanatic level of attachment. But I was internalizing and identifying with this belief. It's just a belief. What's a belief? A belief is an agreement with a story. And a story is somebody's interpretation of what they're experiencing. Not what is being experienced, but their interpretation of what they experience. Stories change a lot. And so we believe these things. And if you're so attached to this belief, you immediately, and this is what all these different kinds of confirmation bias, all these different biases that they'll talk about on TV, that's what he's saying here. Hundreds of years ago, if he was even a person, who knows, right?
That's
but
right.
Could have been a character in a Mark Twain novel from 1400, and we think he's a real person now.
Yes.
You never know. But we get so attached to these things. I like to question things. When I got into I started looking into whatever, we won't get into all of them, but like the conspiracy stuff, right? So I explore these things. I don't know if any of it's true, but it's interesting to study, and it's interesting to look at. It's interesting to ask questions about what's settled. When somebody says, "Oh, it's settled. There's nothing else to learn," you sure about that? Do you want to hide something from me, or is it honestly settled? How can it be settled?
You do that all the time with me.
I want to look into stuff. So I ask questions, and the questions that make you go, "No way!" The things that get you that wild passion, or what Galileo's talking about, the things that make you immediately bristle, those are the things to listen to, because that's where you're going to learn about yourself. That's where, and that's what my friend Dan. So he's the one that posted this. Still teaching me, now like passively, but back then when I worked with him, one of the most the thing that stuck with me so much. So I was telling him that I'd seen a snake there was a snake coming up to the front doors, on the front step of my parents' house, and I got a shovel and I killed it, hacked it to pieces. So I haven't slaughtered any chickens, but I slaughtered that snake. A little garden snake. He's not going to hurt me, but they freaked me out back then.
I'm the same way, brother.
I'm like,
same thing.
Sympathetic nervous system engagement, and it's uncomfortable. And this guy can't hurt me, but I'm terrified of it. So I killed it.
Because if you turned and ran, the snake would quadruple in size and chase
me.
You.
Yeah, and swallow me whole.
And probably,
as soon as I turn around, he does that.
Probably get you around the ankle.
Probably.
And drop you.
Exactly. As soon as if I look away from him, I was lucky. I don't know how it happened. But I was lucky. I was able to get a shovel and get back, and he was still in the same position. He hadn't quadrupled yet, and I was able to murder him without him doing anything. I was lucky.
Well, it's kill or be killed.
Exactly. When you're talking about
tiny
8-inch snakes that don't have any teeth.
Agree.
Oh, absolutely. Right?
They don't have any teeth, but they would strangle
you to death.
They would strangle you.
Hey, you could have wrapped all the way around my wrist. The whole way around my wrist.
Cut your wrist right off.
Yeah, severed it.
I understand.
Diamond-plated scales.
Agree.
So I'm having this, I was relaying this story to my friend Dan. I remember I was standing in his office talking to him, and he goes, and you call yourself a Christian? And that was like, whoa, what do you... It totally just caught me. And I said, what? And he's like, God created that snake, and you just killed it for no reason. And here I am thinking, I'm a good Christian. I'm a Mormon. I do good things for people all over the place. I hadn't even, ring that bell for Dan. And you call yourself a Christian? You're murdering snakes for no reason? And that changed me. That moment, 15 years ago, changed me. Yeah. And so the next time I saw a snake, I didn't kill it. And I thought about it. I said, all right, well, I just looked at it. I said, what are you doing? You're terrifying me. And I'm mowing the lawn, and there's a snake going in, and I stop, and I'm watching it. And then I got off the lawnmower on a walk, and I'm following, and I'm looking at the snake, and he's trying to get away from me because he knows I just murdered his dad or whatever, But I'm like, I'm looking at it, and I start to have this new appreciation for God's creations. And God is the source of life to me now, but back then it was this figure, this Elohim, this man, God, Father guy. And but I started thinking about it. I was like, yeah, Dan was right. I call myself a Christian, yet here I am just willy-nilly killing things. And so from that point on, I started saying, well, I'm not going to kill it. If it's not trying to harm me, I'm not going to kill it. Unless it's ants, I don't know.
Or if it was delicious in the crock pot, too. I mean, that's a whole nother thing.
Well, so there's this purpose. But like I had a new, so yeah, I'm still a murderer of animals, or participate in the murder of animals. But I try to get pasture-raised or like grass-fed, treated humanely animals. I'd spend more money on meat now. Yeah. That's my little effort to rationalize or satisfy my guilt. But so I watched the snakes, and after a couple of years of changing my perspective on it, I was in my mom's garden, and I pulled back a tarp, and we're getting the garden ready in the spring, and there was a couple of ribbon snakes. You ever seen those before?
Yes.
They're really cool looking. They're colorful.
Yes.
They're nice looking. And they're tiny. And there was two little small ones and a bigger one, and it's like I get startled initially because something moving. I'm like, oh, and I realized what it is, and I was wearing gloves. I wouldn't pick up a snake without gloves on. I haven't crossed that barrier yet, but I picked it up, and I held the snake, and I had my daughter come over and look at it, and I never could have done that before. But because so for me, it was like this exposure therapy, but it was also this change in my perspective of these things. We're all here together. We're all living creatures and all this kind of stuff. But Dan opened my mind to that. But it was one of those things where it's like, he would call me out on some of these biases, and I think he's got his biases too. And he wouldn't, he was posting this thing saying, who doesn't do this,
Yeah.
And so, but Dan's, he had a good open perspective, and it helped me out a lot, teaching me.
Listen, we're going to fly, but Dan doesn't realize it yet, but he's going to be coming on the podcast here real soon.
Okay.
He just hasn't received the memo yet. But
do it. Send him. Try and get him. That'd be awesome. He's great.
We got some afternoon snow squalls, Roger Hill saying, so be careful on the roads today. 32, 35 maybe for the high. So, again, just go easy this afternoon. Tonight, stray flurry or two. Going to get blustery, though. 5 to 15 above tonight, and then the winter storm watch for Washington County south is Wednesday afternoon into Thursday evening. So 6 to 9 inches. And you get up into the hills, and it's going to be more than that. So by the time the weekend gets here, we're looking at more snow. So anyway, thanks for coming in, man.
Yeah, it was fun.
We're going to do this obviously next Tuesday, and I appreciate you so much, Paul Brodie, our guest.
Thanks for letting me speak.
Yeah, man. Thanks for getting your ass in here and having fun. I hope we're not in too much trouble.
Remember to vote. More Paul Brodie or less Paul Brodie. More Paul Brodie means less JD. Less Paul Brodie means more JD.
Yes. Thanks, brother.
And there's no third party option.
By the way, there's a new flavor coming out for the Girl Scouts, Girl Scout cookies. Raspberry Rally, it's called. It's a thin mint with berry filling. So
without the mint, so non-mint, just raspberry?
Yeah.
Mint and raspberry doesn't seem like it would be a good combo.
You think that...
I don't.
You think
that would
that
be
someone else is going to be prepackaging those into?
I have no idea. I honestly don't know. Something to investigate.
Thanks, gang. Be well. Take good care. Thanks to all of our sponsors, making it possible for us to bring you some real, raw, relevant, relatable,
Unnecessary
unnecessary
opinions.
Have a great day, everybody.